And we are live, just in the nick of time. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I guess. It's 12 o'clock now. Just going to add Aeryon on here. Hey, Aeryon.
Hey, how are you? Should I have like a line in the middle of my forehead? Let me move that.
I don't hear you yet.
Oh, you don't hear me? Hold on.
Let me see.
Let's see here. I'm not muted.
Can you hear me, Aeryon?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hear you just yet. Let me, oh, you know what? I know what it is. Okay, talk now.
Okay, now you hear me?
Oh, I still can't hear you.
Oh. I'm not muted though. I don't.
Oh, wait, here, okay. Here we go. Say something again.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you when I don't plug in my headphones. I just want to make sure I don't hear myself. I guess so far it's okay.
You can hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you. As soon as I plug in the headphones, I'm not for some reason.
Good.
We'll play it by ear. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. Good morning or good afternoon. I don't know. Good evening where you guys are. Case Pilates and KJ Fitness. Bear with me here, guys. Getting everything set up. Right on the ball.
Morning here. I will definitely say that. It is a beautiful morning in Vancouver. So.
Is it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yesterday was a nice, I kind of enjoy the rainy, cloudy days. You kind of hunker in, and it's CHFA this week. So
yeah,
Zoom calls all week. So I'm okay with being at home on Zoom calls when it's rainy out.
I heard this morning. I heard that Canada is getting an early winter.
I think it's going to be a pretty intense winter. If we look at summer with the plus 40s, I think we're definitely, I know that even in Vancouver, I mean, people here can't drive anyways, but go in snow and it's just a nightmare. So I'm actually booking my appointment to get my new all seasons like right away before. That's what everybody does. They wait till the winter hits and then everybody goes to, get their new tires put on. So
I don't mind a crazy winter. For me, it's just when it gets wet and sloppy, which is what I think it's going to be. Like you said,
that's Vancouver, really, right? So, and cold and rainy and dark. It just gets dark here a lot. Yeah. So, got to have a lot of those the lights. Those lights, what are they called even? Not mood lights, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That help with mood. I should know that.
I could use some of those.
Yeah.
All right, we're all set up and going here. Just doing a double check. If any of you guys are able to share the stream on the Facebook page, StreamYard's been acting up on me. It won't let me share on Facebook, so feel free. Good afternoon, Lex. Good to see you here. So I'll get right to it, guys, now that I've been kind of playing catch up. It's what happens when I let the dogs out right before I jump on the air. Everything becomes a rush. So guys, today we have Aeryon Ashlie. Do you prefer Aeryon Bela Ashlie or Aeryon Ashlie?
No, Aeryon, just Aeryon's fine.
Aeryon is based in Vancouver, as she had mentioned, and Aeryon is the front runner CEO of her own health and wellness supplement company. I hate to just say supplement because I think you fit more in that wellness category with what you do. The reason I wanted to bring Aeryon on, guys, is she's got a phenomenal story, and it really caters to what I'm always saying on here, which is basically become your own brand deal. So many of us are trying to grow our channels. Oftentimes we think about getting monetized on Google and things like that, but that will never be an amount of money that you can retire on, put it that way. You need brand sponsorships. You need products and services that you can upsell people to. Aeryon's a perfect example of that. She's been involved in the fitness industry for a long time, which she'll tell you about. But she created her own supplement company from scratch, and this is you can replace supplement company with anything you want. You may have other interests. Could be equipment. Could be ebooks, whatever that may be. But I think this is a great story for anybody who's interested in creating their own products, and for anybody who's actually thinking of starting a supplement company. It's probably a great story, and also perhaps fair warning at times, Aeryon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely, I guess to say so. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're honest here. I'm sure it's not all super happy days.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah.
So
no, people want to take advantage of you. So
exactly. If you guys have questions during, like, while we're going here, fire them off at any time. We can sidebar and come back. You can save them for the end. If you have questions that are unrelated, different channel stuff, we can save those for the end as well. So, awesome. Thanks, KJ. All right, guys. So how long, Aeryon, have you been doing this?
I've been in the supplement industry. Well, I've been in the, I've been in the fitness industry for a really long time. I had a pro shops inside of fitness centers when I was like 19 years old.
Right.
With a boyfriend of mine. But in the supplement space, I competed at Fame. I think a lot of people would remember Fame back in the day.
Yeah.
And my first competition. And then I was a trainer at Ballet Total Fitness down at in Yorkville there in Toronto. It was a great time there, but and then I begged for sponsorship, which is actually kind of funny because I begged sponsorship from Fit Foods, PVL, and I kept sending them. It's actually quite funny because that sounds so weird. I feel like I'm dating myself, but we didn't email stuff. I literally would print off tons of my pictures, write-ups, and I kept mailing packages to Fit Foods. Mm-hmm. And the girl who kept receiving my packages, who's a good friend of mine now, she kept getting these, and she went into Bert Niebergal, who now is over at one of the other companies with now. Anyways, he's another company, but he's at Fit Foods at the time. He was Magnum. He kept getting these packets. She was like, "Oh my God, we have to do something with this girl. She won't like leave us alone." Like, fine, like let her do demos. And so when I did demos, I would sell out. I would, I'd bake stuff. I'd go over and beyond what is kind of expected, which I think is a common theme I think I've applied to a lot of the stuff I've done is I go over and beyond. And so you get noticed when you go over and beyond. And so I got offered a job as a sales rep. And that's how I got really into the industry. Moved to Calgary, became a sales rep for them. And then Body Plus, which is a company who has progressive, veggie greens, that kind of thing. And Precision out in Ontario, they headhunted me and stole me and took me. And then I went to Toronto, and then they moved me out here to Vancouver. And I was with them for 12 years as a sales rep. But always in the back of my mind, I mean, I did $25 million in sales for Norm. And he was a great owner, and he's a wonderful, I've used him as a mentor now. He's one of the people I have phone calls with and ask him advice, which is really great coming from, I'm now starting my brand. I'm in the baby stages of it. But I always knew I wanted to do my own thing, because if I'm going to make $25 million for somebody else, he sold to Jameson for it's actually public knowledge, but for $91 million.
Wow.
Right? He was in the industry for 30 years. He's done his work. He did his time. Right. But I looked at that, and and he was generous with all of us when he sold. We all got a nice little, thank you gift, but I didn't get 91 million. So you begin to look at that, and it's like the work I'm doing, I might as well invest in myself. And you kind of mentioned like ebooks. So I have cookbooks I've always been, even though I've done body, I worked for a company, I always had my own side kind of thing. I was always trying to do, right, my side hustle. And and so then I basically, when I got packaged out from Jameson, because he sold to Jameson, they gave me a good amount of money finally, after fighting them for a couple months because they wouldn't give it to me right away. And I took this and started my own brand, because I knew I wanted to create something for myself instead of creating it for other people, right?
We think alike, because I went through almost the identical thing. And I mean, I'd always wanted to do that. So I always have kind of just done my own thing. And then I went into more of a corporate space for a while. And again, all I could think about is doing my own stuff. Like there's just something about building from scratch, because in your head, you always do that math. It's like, I made X amount of dollars last year. If I had like X percent of that, then I would have made this much, but instead I just made this much. You start doing that. You probably shouldn't. But I think entrepreneurs just have that mindset, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's I always really kind of like, this is the one. So if this is the one shot we get, why wouldn't you go all in on yourself? Right. And I think there's people who want to have the security. I mean, I still broker for another company right now, so I still have a little bit of financial security to a certain extent that kind of helps me as I build my brand. So I've been able to do that, and I think that's smart as well. And depending when the time is right, then you can go maybe fully all in on your own. So you always maybe have that little bit of that nest egg or that money that's coming in that is a for sure thing while you're growing your thing on the side. But Yeah, I've always wanted to do my own thing. Always. So sorry.
It's okay.
We just walked by.
I think, yeah, and the way I always look at it too is that if things don't work out with what I'm doing, I can always go back to,
100%.
that other style, because I'm good at it on both sides. And there's just something about creating for yourself. Like I even say now, when my Google money comes in every month, which is it's not the biggest amount of money that I make off of YouTube and those sort of things, but I get so excited, and it's like I had paychecks that were far greater than my YouTube money, but I don't get nearly as excited as I do about this like YouTube money that comes in every month, because that you basically built that from scratch, and it just every month it goes up.
Yeah.
Whether it's several dollars or $20 or $30 or $50, it just keeps going up and up and up, and that's been happening for like 2.5 years. As I keep kind of feeding the fire with more content, and it's fun to see. And even though I'm in my own sort of universe now, YouTube is still not my full-time thing. So this is my side hustle, and then my agency is my full-time thing. But I totally, I feel you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, even watching, we just started this past year really getting on Amazon. I have an Amazon guy who's amazing. And I met him through a mentorship group that I became part of, Innovation Guelph. And that's the other thing too. I think a lot of people, there's so many organizations and groups out there that you can become a part of, where you get mentorship, or you can get money or things like that, to really help you, like coach you in the direction that you're trying to go with. But I met him through Innovation Guelph, and he actually runs my Amazon. So it's kind of funny to think, a year ago, I did all my own Amazon sales for my own brand.
Yeah.
And it was like $900 for the year. I was like, and I'm like, I don't understand this Amazon thing. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. So I bring him on board. He used to work at Amazon. And that's also a thing too, I think, with understanding, hiring people who know what they're doing, realizing what I'm good at. I know I'm good at sales. That's my jam. I love it. I love my stores. I love doing that. I am not good at Amazon. So since bringing him on, he's done 15,000 a month, and we're just growing and growing and growing. And so kind of in what you were saying, like getting excited about the things, when I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but to me, I'm watching this grow, and I know that it's mine. So it's even more exciting. So
There's no glass ceiling. That's the best part.
No, there's not. And that's the best part, right? So,
and I can tell that you're good at sales just from following your social media, because you understand how to interlace personal with sales stuff. And it almost is like a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not psychosomatic, but it's subliminal in how you do it. And I think a lot of people could learn from, if any of you guys want to follow Aeryon on social media, is it Aeryon Bela Ashlie, at Aeryon Bela Ashlie, right?
Yeah, at Aeryon Bela Ashlie.
Yeah. I'll type it in the thing here.
Yeah, my name is spelled different, so that's the other thing too. Okay. So it's Aeryon. Yeah. So everybody always thinks everybody thinks I'm Ashley. It's funny. Yeah. But
you know what? I was actually at one point I was going to ask you that, because I wasn't 100%. Is the Y silent or not? Because I get called Reagan all the time, and I don't particularly like it. So it's not. But then I think I heard you refer to yourself as Aeryon. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Now I know.
Definitely different.
Lex, I was in the Army, then corporate, and cybersecurity engineer. Now as a CPT, I've always needed to do my own thing. Yeah, you're not alone, Lex.
Yeah.
So, some people love the 9 to 5 and the going to work. And there's certain things that are great, the camaraderie of being around other people and stuff. But for me, I would rather take my chances building from scratch.
Yeah, and I think it depends too. I mean, even though I'm on my own, and entrepreneurship can be lonely, I'm also still, because I'm in my stores all the time, because I broker for a company. So, and because I'm actually doing sales calls every day, like I'm in stores every single day. And that's one of the reasons why I think the brand has been successful, is that my relationships with my retailers has been really important. And I've had those for, the past 20 years, because I've been in the industry so long. So making those calls every day brings my product. And even if they don't list my product right away, like we just got listed into Choice. I say we, but it's me. I just got listed into Choices.
I do the same thing.
I do like there's a big team of people. But Choices is 10 stores. I'm in about 350 stores across Canada, but Choices listed me, and they're 10 stores out here, and I've been bugging them forever, and they finally listed the whole entire brand. So it's really, really cool to see that persistence. And it's just, every now and then I'm like, hey, just checking if you're interested in bringing my brand in, that kind of thing. So it's like persistence behind it too.
So you got your buyout through Jameson. That was the money that was used to create your brand. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So something that I talk about a lot on this channel is niching down. Oftentimes when people start channels, any kind of workout channel, they will look at who the big dogs are. And I think there's kind of a mindset, well, if I do the same thing as them, I'll grow the same way as them. And you become kind of a watered down, cheap version of them.
Yeah.
What was your first SKU? Which was your first product?
We first did Restore and Snooze. But the reason I did it, when you're talking about looking at the big dog, I mean, the big dog was Lorna, right? Lorna Van de Heg has her female product here in Canada. Yeah. All pink bottles, if you're not familiar with it. And I speak at a lot of events because I do public speaking, and I've spoken with her, and I've watched the women come listen to her. So I could see there was a need for that. I remember being at the West Coast Women's Show, and Sam Gracie, he was the guy behind Greens Plus, right?
Yeah.
He was standing in a booth with me, and we were standing there together watching, and I'm not even joking, he looked over and he said, see, Aeryon, see how many people need help? He goes, all these people need help. He goes, they need help. These women need help so badly. He goes, and they'll do anything. And they were just, I remember watching them, and literally they're just grabbing bottles, like anything she would tell them to buy, they're just grabbing it and walking up.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that. And then I also know, I mean, Lorna's fantastic, but I also knew there's a demographic there of younger women, because a lot of these women were older. So I think of niche, right?
Yeah.
And I look at that, I'm like, there's an audience there that's not being spoken to. There's an audience that, like, for myself, I want somebody who's probably a little younger, maybe in her 40s, like that kind of thing. And so I was like, and that audience can be me. I can be that person for these people.
Yeah.
And that's what I really saw. I saw an opportunity. And I also knew eventually that Lorna would probably sell, which she did, right? She ended up selling to Jameson as well. So she sold to Jameson. Now she's backed off, and it's just Health Solutions, and they've taken off. They're kind of, getting rid of the Lorna Van de Heg name.
Yeah.
But I knew there was going to be an opportunity there for somebody to step into this space. And that's what I really looked at. And so that's why I went after, was that.
Yeah, because I think so many people, they would consider if they were going to invest in doing their own supplement company, they would jump into proteins and pre-workouts and all those kind of, the stuff that's you think is going to sell the quickest. But because I think the first product I remember seeing of yours was the adrenal fatigue one. I don't know, and that seems kind of obscure in a sense, but it jumped out at me because I've gone through that. Yeah. And I've had to basically do sugar cleanses and things like that to reset my adrenal glands. And but it's like, did you make this decision based on just a gut feeling along with what you've experienced? Did you actually do any kind of detailed like looking into the industry and seeing that this is something that I think I could get shelf space with? Like, what was the thought process of that first SKU?
Well, for one, I know there's no margin in protein powders. It's a commodity. And so when everybody comes out with protein powders first, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm just launching my very first powder, and I have 7 products. This is my 7th product is a powder. The reason being is little, pills pay the bills.
Yeah.
So there's no margin in pills. And I had to really look at that. I want to build a sustainable company that actually is making money. Yeah. And it's heavier to ship protein. It's protein is everywhere. And I would love to do a protein because I take protein every day. Yeah. But I'm not going to, that would probably be my last product, in all honesty. And if you actually look at, to go back to Lorna quickly, but if you look at Lorna's, she launched a protein like 3 years ago. She never had one. Yeah. Right. Because you look at it, that's the last thing you want to do because there's not much margin in it. So you want to make all your margin in your pills and your caps. Yeah. And then you can go into more powders, especially protein powder or collagen. People are always like, come up with the collagen. I'm like, oh my God. Like my neck is not a collagen.
Anybody out there who's listening right now, that's something, and this is not the first time I've heard this. I've also experienced this where I've been, if you're ever thinking of starting a supplement company, much more margin in pills than powders.
Pills pay the bills.
Yeah, it's a true statement. I've seen it and heard it everywhere. That's why there's certain, yeah.
And so with that, for one thing, I knew was my own personal health issues. I struggled with, I wrote a book actually on it. So Bulimia to Balance is my book on Amazon. And I went to #1 in 5 categories for a minute. But but when I did my book, and I also realized when I kind of came out the other night, I was a fitness competitor for years. My adrenals were shot. My hormones were a mess. Sorry, another person's walking by.
It's okay.
I have a solarium in there. I thought they'd be safe over there, but anyways, and so my adrenals were completely shot, and so that's why I really looked at that category, and I knew my story fell in line with it too, because as Simon Sinek says, right? People don't buy what you do; they buy why you're doing it. That whole kind of concept, and my why is really this is my own. I'm making this really for myself, and what I realized was there was something missing that didn't work for me that I couldn't buy on the shelf. So that was another reason why too. Yeah. So in that we did Restore and Snooze, kind of like a daytime, nighttime adrenal support product. And then I've slowly like grown the brand from that point. And my retailers are a huge part of what I do because I'm constantly, I'm in stores asking them the color of the bands. I'm in store asking the names. I have them look at all my formulas. I'm like, what do you think of this? Like I have a formulator I work with, but I'm like, what do you think of this? What do you think this is great? What do you like about it? What do you don't? And they also, because my retailers are so involved as well, is they'll come to me and be like, oh my God, we heard about this really cool ingredient from this company. You should go check this out. So they're also listening and, kind of giving me different tips and, things that I should do. But that was really the reason why. My own personal health issues. And I also knew that it was a space in which I can make the margin in as well.
Yeah. And I think as a salesperson too, when you're able to wrap your head around a pitch and you've got a pitch for something, which having personal experience of that, you would, that's gold to me. Like, and like you were saying about, being involved with the stores and one advantage, because a lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, don't do this, but it's a huge, when you're interacting with the actual front lines of who's selling your products, it's so beneficial. Number one, because you're educating them on how the product works. Yeah. And I know, as having done sales training for different companies in the past, fitness companies, that whenever the salesperson feels confident talking about a product, that's going to be their go-to product to talk about because they don't feel stupid. And so when you're there and you're teaching them about the products and they understand it and they develop a sales pitch based on what you're telling them, you're going to sell more product. And I've been into stores in the past when I was working for a supplement company, and I used to basically just kind of ghost shop, and I'd ask them questions about the brands that I was with. And I can remember the manager of the store, it was a Popeye store. I asked him about the brand that I worked at, and I said, what? Because I was asking him why he puts certain things in certain places in the store. I said, is that a company thing? Is that individual stores? He said it was individual stores. I'm like, why is this brand at the back of the store? And he's like, honestly, he said, I have a hard time selling it. I'm like, why is that? He's like, because I have no idea what they're saying on the label. And it was like, and true enough, it was something that I had also felt about that brand, that there was too much stuff on the label. Yeah. And it was so over people's heads and you can't explain it. So no salesperson is going to go in and try and explain it because they don't even understand it.
I think that's, do you mind if I move my dogs? My dogs are going to go crazy. Give me 1 second. They're usually not like this, but I don't know. Somebody must be outside. Sorry.
No problem.
What are you doing? What?
Hey, Nico, what's going on? Hope we hit 1 million. I hope you hit 1 million too.
All right, we just go.
Like I said, guys, if any of you guys want to jump in with questions, we're talking with Aeryon Ashlie from British Columbia, Canada. She is the CEO of Aeryon Wellness, which is a supplement brand that's in Canada here. And we're going to be touching on everything she's done to basically start from scratch to having her own company selling products. And she does sell products. So
there we are. I'm back.
Dogs are okay?
Yeah, dogs are okay. It was actually interesting. Yesterday, I had a phone call with a company in the States. They're quite a big company down there. And we were talking a little bit and so interesting stuff is happening. But nonetheless, we had a conversation yesterday. And one of the things they told me, they went in right away to Walgreens and all these big retailers, right? They looked at going in there right away. Yeah. And he said, we failed miserably at that. And they lost a ton of money doing that. And when I stepped away, like I didn't say this to him at the time, when I think about it, what it is when it's not just putting product on the shelf. That's not the goal. Like the goal is, yes, to get on the shelf. The goal is to actually sell through and have them order again. Yeah. And the only way a customer a retailer can sell that is if they know exactly what they're selling, if they understand the brand, if there's a connection to the brand. And that's why it's really important to provide educational training like this. So this, company in the States, they paid tons of money of listing fees, because to put your product on these big store shelves, you pay to actually have that shelf space. It's not free, and it's expensive. So you spent all this money to do that, but you haven't provided the education or somebody going in, and talking to them and saying, hey, this is the XYZs of the product. This is why you like it. Oh, by the way, do you want to try a bottle?
Yeah.
Because we sell what we like. That's just the end. It's, we sell what we love too. So if you can really get a retailer behind that, and that's one of the big things that I took also looking at, like Lorna and her methodology with consumer lectures and with training, and I've applied that to my own brand. So, I'm constantly on webinars or doing Zoom trainings or in stores, right? And I'll be in stores visiting, and I educate them on the product. And then I'm like, do you want to try a bottle? I'll give you a free bottle to try. I want them to use my product. I want them to be like, oh, I love this product, right? So I think that's a big thing as well, is providing education. It's not just getting the shelf space. It's how do you teach them how to sell it? And
it's huge. It's extremely underutilized. I think maybe it does have something to do with being smaller. You're able to move and appreciate those front lines people, but it's a huge thing.
For sure. That's been a big part, I think, of my success and with being listed or getting listed into these stores, is the fact that, my brick and mortar is about 90% of actually Amazon is creeping up a lot faster, but it's been about 90% of my business is brick and mortar, right? And so it really is appreciating those people and connecting with them. Here in BC, I'm quite strong just because I'm in stores all the time. But it's so important to be constantly connecting with them.
So Amazon sales are doing good, eh?
Amazon's doing really good, and I think there's a lot of people that really, slacked or slagged Amazon, especially during COVID, right? A lot of businesses did. And I will say, from a small business myself, I didn't understand how Amazon works. I think that's with everything. You hire people who do really great at what they do. And one of the things with Amazon, I think a lot of retailers don't like, is the fact that the vendors themselves don't monitor the pricing. Right. So you let everybody sell they can sell whatever they want for whatever price. They're not a MAP, everyday low pricing. They're not looking at that and really being strict on it. So with me running my own Amazon, or Dawn running my own Amazon, I'm constantly, like, if somebody goes 5 cents below MAP or below the everyday low pricing, which is what I'm asking them to be, let's say it's $39.99 for Lose It. If they're $39.85, I email them, hey, this is the owner of Aeryon Wellness. Can you please raise your price to $39.99? So we're all the same price. And they do it, which is interesting, because I think that's the other thing as well, is my retailers know that I want to make them money. And so if I let everybody do wild, wild west, and like totally go crazy and sell it for really cheap pricing, that's not going to build loyalty with them either. But they know that I really watch what the pricing is as well. And so everything is always aligned. Like you could walk into a store and talk to a retailer, and if you pull it up on Amazon, it's going to be pretty well the exact same price as your retailer is going to sell it for.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
Yeah. I've dealt with that with DVDs in the past, where going into vendors actually killed my direct to consumer business, because they dropped the price so low that I was having people report me that I was ripping them off when it was my product. And I had set the sales and it was worth it, but the distributor that I dealt with, they did this. And
I think the other big thing that's really important is, I have a consultant that I sat down with, because this is what she's an expert in, right? In the very beginning, and looked at my cost of my product, and I built out my pricing. So I did my cost, then I put in my 6% for marketing, then I put in my 21% for my distributor, then I put in a brokerage fee because I knew I want to broker eventually, and then you build the product price out from that. So it wasn't like, oh, okay, well I pay $6 for it. I don't know, $8 sounds good. It was really methodical as to how I'm going to make this sustainable. And how can I make, and so I'm getting my net margin. So with my product, I do a 65% gross margin and 35% net margin. So the net is we're making that. So that goes back into the brand. And that's why I've been able to expand as well. And also, have another 4 SKUs that I launched last year, right? By really being careful from the very beginning. I think that's the big part. I think as entrepreneurs, we're so excited to launch our brand or our babies into the world that we don't really look at what the value is too. And I think a lot of the time it's hard to value ourselves. We think, oh, well, I don't want to charge too much. And it's like, but you have to have that from the very beginning. So then you can be sustainable, right? And last.
with anything, like even guys on here that are doing online training and stuff, if you don't set the precedent early, that's where you get stuck. You'll get stuck in that low price, because if you change it after, people are going to get mad. But if you come out of the gate at that price, that's a fair price, then they're not as they will learn to accept it.
Well, and I think, I mean, the way I kind of look at it too, especially with my product line, is, and now we have these, the cool QR codes on the front of every label. So I'm not just giving you a product, I'm giving you tons of support and meal plans and education and all sorts of things within that bottle that you get to walk out of the store with. So I know there's so much value within my product, right? It's not just pills. So
we got here. NM Personal Training. Good morning. How are you doing? Nick Hill, I see your question there about, can you talk about supplements, role, and body transformation? Ask that at the end. We'll get through this part first, and then if you want to fire off that question at the end, myself or Aaron can kind of touch on it a little bit. And we'll keep going. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button if you're enjoying the podcast, the live stream, because it does help us. So you decided on the product that you were going to do. Now, as far as manufacturing goes, did you already have insights into where to go for that?
Well, being in the industry for a really long time. I was actually, I think I told you the story, but it's Terry Frendo who owned Insight Fitness. I've known Terry for many years. I write for Insight Fitness. And he was a big part in, because I was really scared, really. Like, I'd always wanted to do it. And all of a sudden I had the money. The universe basically said, all right, you want to do this, Aaron? Here you go. What do you want to do? And I'm like, oh God, now I have to actually do this. And I remember I was kind of like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I'm like, holy crap. Like, what am I doing? I'm going against all these other big players, and who do I think I am? And, you have all these kind of thoughts in your head. And basically, Terry, I was out in Toronto celebrating retirement of Norm, the boss I had. And he said, let's go to Capsule Factory. So Capsule Factory is located in Windsor. We drove out there for the day, and I met with them, walked through their facility, and I left, and I was like, okay, I can do this. So and especially the other thing too is having a formulator. So I had Don Gavro, who he did Rip Freak and SB Pharmaceuticals, and I was his national salesperson within Body Plus as well. So I've worked with him forever and helped him with a lot of the products he bought out with SD. So like Bocha, all those products. And so I had him formulate for me. And then that was the big thing. So the formulas, and then going and getting the manufacturer and just kind of taking the leap and going for it. And I did a small run. I think that's the other thing too. Like, I had a couple other companies come after me when I got packaged out from Jameson. And one of them, they all knew I wanted to do my own brand. And one of them, I still have the contract, basically said to me, we'll give you 5% after the first $1 million in sales, but it's going to be our brand and we're going to own your name. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, fuck you. Like, I was just like, seriously, like, what? This is, I have the formulas, I have the ideas, but you're going to own my name. And not only that, they had said to me, it's going to, this gives me like $200,000 for you to do this. It's going to cost you so much money. Yeah. And I remember leaving that going like, really? And when I did a very, very small run, right? When I did my product, I'm just looking at his question. I did a very small, I did 1,000 bottles, right? And I was like, if I can get through 1,000 bottles, then we'll keep going. So I did. That's
something I've always been curious about, like what these minimum orders are, because that's a lot of people starting off in this. I'd be the same way. If I were to start a brand tomorrow, I would want to do a minimum run so that my overhead's not over the top and I don't have that pressure to try and sell it at low ball prices and things. So
well, I think now he's upped his runs. His runs are, he's grown substantially, Capsule Factory. Yeah. But at the time, I think Trent also knew, like, I came in, he's known me for years in the industry, and I think he was kind of like, okay, this is kind of cool. She's going to start her own brand. I had this big vision of what I wanted to do. And he was really kind enough to say, all right, you can do 1,000. And because nobody else would. When I've talked to GFR out here, and GFR is a large manufacturer who does Vega and does a lot of companies, they were like, yeah, you're too small. Come talk to me in the future. So, and the runs have gone up. But doing that 1,000, and he warehoused it, and I can do 3PL, which is pick and pack. So I can ship directly from him if need be. And it was just me. I would drive into my stores. I'd have product in the back and take it in and be like, can I have some shelf space? Or I'd buy the shelf space and basically be like, I'll put, have 3 free products each. Can I just put it on your shelf? Right. And so they, that kind of thing, really trying to get some shelf space. Yeah. But it was doing the small runs in the beginning and crawling before you run type of thing. And even now I try to do really small runs for my first launches, like Sleeping Beauty. The next one I'm doing a very small run. See how it hits, see how it lands. I don't want to order, 10,000 bottles of it and then, and then be stuck with it. Right. So
with your, did you have to hire somebody for the formulation of the product?
I did. Yeah. So
did you have like a certain, did you have certain ingredients in mind, or did you just say, I want to make a product for this, and they just came back with something for you? How did that work?
Well, the thing too is that it's a very unique job to find a formulator. This is what I've also recognized as well. I am not a formulator. I can look at really cool products, but that's amazing. But I'm not somebody who understands how to, and formulators not only have to put all these ingredients in the package, but it has to be cost effective. That's where you get a really good formulator, where they really know the pricing of things, right? And they're able to look at that and be like, hey, this is going to get us, in that price range, we're going to be able to build it out and make a sustainable living off it. And I had one lady who I was working with for a bit. She's phenomenal and came back with amazing, formulas. And I remember saying them to Capsule Factory, and they're like, this is like $100 a bottle product. That's just your cost. And I'm like, ow. So I knew what I wanted to do. And then when I started talking to Dawn, then Dawn understood not only the pricing aspect, but also the raw goods and how to put it all together. So that's a really unique gift. And that's a big part of it, is finding somebody who knows how to do that effectively. And I was really lucky to find that, right? And have that. And I've worked with them before, so that was one of the big things. So having that's huge.
And that's something that it took me a while to understand, because when I was working for a company there in the past, you learn about the business as well. And as much as we'd all like to come out with the absolute best product, if it's too expensive and no one buys it, then it doesn't really matter. And so because I can remember this company had multiple brands, and the brand that was showing the most growth had the lowest marketing budget. And I never understood that. I'm like, this is the space that we should be focusing on. But then it's explained to me that, well, no, the margins are the lowest in that category. So we're not going to spend as much because we don't make enough to run the company off that category. So that's why. So it's a lot of those little things that you don't realize, that, you can come out with the world's best anything, but if it's not affordable, then you're not really going to help people. So sometimes you do have to bring it down a bit, or remove some ingredients and stuff just to make it sellable. That's kind of the neat thing with you having the sales background along with the fitness background. You're able to use both sides of the brain to kind of figure that out and not get caught with your pants down.
Yeah, I mean, that's been definitely a huge part. And then, also too, you have to factor in with Canada, we have NPNs, right? So natural product numbers. So every single, we have 7 NPNs, but I have 4 NPNs are actually filed right now. So with Health Canada, it's called natural product number. If you look at any supplement, you'll see a little number on the side. And basically when Canada, which is way better, and I will say this openly, than the FDA, like FDA is nothing compared to what Canada's got up here. But every single claim I make on my bottle, on my packaging, on anything has to be proved with scientific research. So you have to back it up. And you have to pay to get these NPNs. And these NPNs they can go from $3,000 to $5,000 each. They get quite pricey, right? And which is nice, because what is what I'm telling you about this product, what it does, actually has a science background to it, which is really nice. That's in the States, they can say whatever they want. So it's kind of like more the Wild West down there. But so you have to factor that in. Then you have to factor your formulator in. Then you have to, so all these different things you have to end up factoring in, and go into the cost of making a product.
So before you did how early on were you selling this? Like, what I mean is, did you have 1,000 bottles in your garage before you started calling supplement shops and people to do that? Or did you already have a game plan as to what you're going to do when this stuff arrives? How did that play in?
So I launched in 2019, January, and I knew, because I have such good relationships with my retailers, I knew. And I've been asking them for advice along the way with even my logo. I have one of my big players out here. He has, 7 stores, 8 stores. And we text, we're good friends. And so I'd send him my logo. I'm like, would you like this logo for Aeryon Wellness? Like, oh, that's a good one. Let's do this one. All right. Send him the images of the bottle. I'm like, what do you think of this? He's like, no, that looks lame. We kind of go back and forth. So my retailers were kind of invested a little bit with what I was doing. And so I knew they were going to list it. So Nature's Fair became they still are one of my big ones that came in. And actually it was kind of funny. Healthy Planet, the head purchaser of Healthy Planet, I didn't realize had been following me for years on social media.
Yeah.
So when I launched the brand, he reached out in private message. He's like, hey, what's the margins on this? And I'm like, oh, and I had no idea who he was. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, and then we started talking. And he's like, yeah, I've been following you since you had your puppies in your house. I'm like, oh my God, that was like 3 years ago. So, and he listed it. Healthy Planet's one of my big ones too, as well, that I have out east. So I guess I knew my stores here would carry it. And that was I was going to sell it through them. And I do, at the time, we had, of course, all the wellness shows, the West Coast Women's Show, all these things. I knew I could sell them there. So I knew I would be able to sell one-on-one.
So the final bottle label and logo and stuff, so that wasn't the original thing? Like somebody came up with that for you?
Yeah. So originally, I mean, I've gone through, this is the funny part. I've gone through so many different business names and company names and logos and product names and just everything, right? You look at the work you do to get to where you are. And I think that's, you see sayings like that where people think everything happens overnight. And it's like, oh my God, like it was called Bella Therapeutics originally. That's what it was. And then it was, we've like different names and different logos. But I really struggled with the look I wanted because there's a brand out here called K-Pure, and I really liked how she had it look. And I look at a lot of the brands on the market when I stand and look at the shelf, and there's nothing that really like appealed to me look-wise. And that's why when Ramel, who I had hired, he did my first product and came up with the name. He knew what I wanted to do and came up with Snooze with the 2 little dots. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's the look, right? And I really loved that font he used. Everything, and that's just been the way we've gone kind of ever since with the 2 dots. And everybody's like, what do the 2 dots mean? And I'm like, they're actually just I wish I had a story behind the 2 dots. No. I to make a story behind the 2 dots, but
it's Swedish.
It's Swedish. Actually, this was funny. One of my retailers years later said to me, he goes, if you go into Germany, I think it was Germany, he said, you're going to have to change the 2 dots. He goes, because people think it's Vestur. And I was like, what? He goes, Vestur. And he kept doing like, look, if I'm so big that going into Germany, the 2 dots are an issue, I will definitely deal with it at the time.
Exactly. It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. It's like, get rid of the dots. We can't say your product properly. So
I like your label. I'm very big on simplicity.
Yeah.
I find some are just too loud and they all start to get mixed together. The other thing about the supplement industry that I hate is that when a certain company comes up with a new style of label, you start to see these other competitors start leaning in there, and all of a sudden everybody looks the same again. And so they all kind of copy one another. But one of the nicest labels that I saw, and I'm kind of weird with this stuff, but GNC came out with I think it was a category called Raw. And it was more like almost ingredients.
Yes, I love that label. I thought it looked so nice.
I thought because it almost had a pharmaceutical look to it. There was just something really clean about it that I really liked.
Yeah, that was the same thing I was kind of going for. Something really simplistic and clean. And I didn't want lots of colors. I find it makes it look really multi-level marketing-ish if they have I don't know. I see so many labels all the time. And I just know what my eyes are, drawn to. And it was funny. I filmed Dragon's Den in May, so we're fingers crossed, hoping to see it air in November, October.
Yeah.
But one of the dragons said they didn't like the label, and I was like, really? Like that's the one thing.
And I could totally see that too. People that like that kind of over the top loudness and that they'd hate your label. I think it's very much. I'm sure there's just the two There's probably no in between with your labels, I would guess.
And what's also fascinating, when every retailer I've taken it to, I've never had somebody say they don't like it, like ever. Everybody, the one common theme I am getting, and people I love the label. Yeah. I love the way it looks. I like the font. It's really cool. It's different than anybody else. And so I was kind of taken aback with that person. I'm like, really?
And I find in the wellness category, there's a lot of those earth tones, like with the greens and the oranges and the brown. Like everyone tries to kind of go that hippie route. So just going straight on black and white, the brand name pops off in that. It could eventually be everyone could copy it, and then it's no good anymore. But for now, I think it's pretty good. So
yeah, I like it too.
All right, so did our minimum order. Orders are going out.
And I was mailing and I was doing all the orders.
Yeah, you're running this from home, right? This is not like a head office.
No, I had back in my truck. I had it back in my car, right? Yeah, but running it from home and mailing orders. And then I signed, when I launched my other 2 products, the next 2, Reset and Reclaim, the hormonal products. That's when I signed with a distributor, Purity. So Purity is a large distribution company. They carry thousands of SKUs, thousands of products. And I knew going in with them, they're not going to be me. They're not going to be a hunter, as I call it. They're more of a gatherer, right? In the sales concept of things. So I knew that I was going to have to really drive the sales, but to have somebody that warehoused my stuff and picked and packed, and also with all these smaller retailers across Canada, they can order 1s and 2s because there's so many companies that they have under their umbrella. They're able to, so it makes it way easier for the smaller retailer to carry my brand because they can order 2 of me and 3 of those. And so I had a friend who is the head purchaser, and I don't know if I would have gotten in, to be honest, had I not had that connection.
Yeah.
He got me listed with them. And I think they're pretty happy with what I've done because they don't have to work hard for me. And I'm the one who drives the sales. And I think that's the big thing too, is if you think you're going to create something and hand it off to somebody else and think they're going to do a better job at selling, that's not going to happen. You have to be I'm the best salesperson for my brand. So I'm the one who has to be, out there and emailing and sending free product and trying to do trainings and, pounding the pavement and going for it. Yeah. I can't expect to hand it to them and be like, okay, they're going to take care of my product and sell it. That's not happening.
You have to be careful with it because I did the same thing with workout DVDs where the very first DVD I did was just how to use a home gym. And it was just a very simple setup. And I think when we spoke previously, I think I mentioned this to you, but I contacted the company after I produced the DVD to ask if I could use their gym, which is the complete ass backwards way to do this. But I contacted them. I ended up having the owner of this home gym company in Chicago call me, and they wanted to buy the video. So suddenly this video that I was worried about selling 10 copies of, this guy was interested in possibly buying it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm young and completely inexperienced at this. So I'm like, okay, well, what do we do here? And he's like, do you have time to come to Chicago? So I don't think this guy realized who he's talking to. And he flew me to Chicago. I got picked up in the air. I'm like early 20s, picked up at the airport in a limousine, driven to this giant head office and a meeting with the owner of this company. And the guy was a total cowboy, like really laid back, wearing jeans kind of guy. And he's just flat out, he said, how much did it cost you to make it? And I told him, and he's like, I think he just kind of liked me. There was like, I think it's like that East Coast thing, but he gave me my money back that I invested in it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, how much does it cost you to make a copy? Because my thing in the back of my head is, well, I gotta make my margin by making the copies and then selling them to him at a wholesale cost or something. And he's like, that doesn't work for me. He said, all of our gyms are manufactured in China. I need them made over there. It's just easier for us. It's more cost effective. So if you make 40 cents profit off the DVDs by selling them to me because I think I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was $1.40 for me to make a copy of the video based on a certain amount. And so he's like, or I was going to sell to him for $1.40. I was making it for $1, something like that. So he gave me 40 cents US every time they made a copy of the video. And then all the videos were going into every gym in their line. And this is a global home gym company. And we'll give you $1 every time we sell a gym, any of our gyms. So, and that was a 14-year licensing deal that went on. And I was just hands off for the duration of it. So that was a good one. But then when I started making more videos, boys, shush, hey. Now my dogs are acting up. When I started making more videos, suddenly I got connected through one of my talents with a distributor in Toronto, and they promised me all sorts of stuff. And yes, for the vein side of me, my videos were in like Chapters and Walmart and things like that. Hey, stop it. And but they basically took a video that I was selling. It was a 3-disc set. I was selling it for $40, mm-hmm. and then I was wholesaling it for $20, giving all my vendors 50% margin. And there was a lot at that time of small private distributors of DVDs online. Yeah. So people that would buy 100 copies at a time, and they're paying $20. I'm making the video for like $3. So like $17 times 100 copies. It's like for a young guy working out of his house, that's good.
Yeah.
And then the retail price was $39.99, 3-disc set. These guys took the video. They never did. All they did is they changed the cover to pink from white. And they charged me, like they had all these deductions where it was suddenly now I owe them all this money for work they've done on them. You haven't done anything. Yeah, they changed the color. So, and then I walk into Walmart one day, like literally 2-3 months after I made the deal with them, and here's my video in the bargain bin for $4.99 or $5.99, which is like it's less than, it's almost the same amount I'm paying for it to get it done. And so long story short, these guys, they took my videos. I had a whole garage full of stock. I gave that to them. They were distributed everywhere for next to nothing. I never got my money back for the videos they sold. And it was a disaster. And the only good thing is like, yeah, I can put a feather in my hat that I've been in the big box stores, but dealing with these individuals that are all over the world that are selling 100 videos or buying 100 videos every couple of months, like that was really good. And I think we take that for granted. And it's like, you don't realize how much direct to consumer or direct to small business sales you can do. You don't have to create a product and have it in Walmart or Popeyes or GNC or something like that. It's not always the way to do it.
Well, and also tell me with the big guys, I think there's listing fees. That's the other thing as well. Like when I was speaking to these people yesterday, they were in Walgreens, they were in, the vitamin, all the big names, but they're paying a ton of money. Yeah. And then it didn't work because they didn't provide the training to the staff. There's no connection to the brand. They don't understand it. So they can't sell it through properly. So you basically spend a ton of money getting into these products. Yeah. And people, I think like I'm enlisted into Whole Foods, and that's coming up with their new planogram, which is huge for me. I mean, Whole Foods is a big player, but I look at my health food stores like Nature's Fair or Healthy Planet. I don't pay listing fees with them, and they're two of my biggest accounts with my product line, right? So yeah. I think sometimes we think of it's you want to be in Walmart, you want to be in all these big box stores, but where are you making your margin? Where are you making your money? And
your product to me seems like the type that it performs better when it's got a salesperson who's able to guide somebody to it.
Yeah, and about the best thing too now with the QR codes, let me grab a product and I'll show you.
Sure.
But like on the front of I should have had my bottles out, but on the front of every product, this is Water Be Gone. This is the #1 seller we have actually. #1 on Amazon. We just tagged that one recently for diuretics, which is huge. Yep. I kicked Jameson out of the top spot. Yes.
Wow.
So that was kind of nice. But we have these QR codes on the front of every single bottle. And how I kind of came up with this was I launched Lose It, which was a metabolism support product. And coming from my background with dieting and with eating disorders, I really struggled with having a metabolism support product, but it was a product I was constantly being asked for when I'd be doing lectures or I'd be in stores. They'd be like, what do I do to lose weight? And I was like, how do I sell a metabolism support product when I know that there's so much more than just that, right? There's all the other things that really kind of take place with it. And so that's why I was like, oh my God, I'll put a QR code on the front. And so when you scan this, you get a 30 to 60 second video where I'm talking about the product. So it helps the retailer then, like if you have a new staff on board, understand immediately what this product does. Cole's notes like version, this is what this product does. And then there's meal plans in there, vegan and non-vegan, and tips and strategies and tools. We talk about inflammation. I talk about weight loss. There's workout videos. So really looking at how I can support the customer on their journey and also support the retailer too, so they know what they're selling.
Yeah.
And that's been that was actually, because when I got on Dragon's Den, that's how I got on, was the QR code. So if it airs, that's what I'm talking about, is the QR code technology and using that. So that's been a really big part of I think probably one of my best moves I think I've done was doing that QR code technology.
I think that came up towards the end of my time with the company I was with, and I didn't have a clue what it was all about, and I don't think anybody there did. It was coming up as big technology, so of course we had to have it. Yeah, and I don't think it ever worked.
I don't think it ever did either, because people didn't understand. But now that was the thing, was the restaurants. Like, I didn't know how to use a QR code. And now you understand, I just scan it with my phone. I just take my camera. If you have an Android, you have actually an app. But with restaurants, especially out here in Vancouver, because we've never really gone full lockdown for the whole year, as you guys have out there, we've had restaurants open. We've all been using this QR code technology. So it's really easy to go, oh, okay, I just scan it and I can understand the product. And the other great thing about doing this is my returns in store and my returns in store has dropped dramatically because people are hearing exactly what's in the product and they know exactly what it's going to do. So if they're like, oh, okay, well, I can't take that ingredient, or I don't like that one, or I don't, you know what I mean? Then they're okay, I'm not going to take this product. But if they do, they're like, oh, okay, I get what this product does, I'm going to take it. So that's been a really big positive with that too.
So in terms of like standards and practices and health regulations and stuff, do you have to have this product, like, are these products approved by?
Yeah, they all have the MPN, right? So every single one has the MPN, so natural product number and the number there, from Health Canada. So we all have those. So that's basically, I mean, going into the States. So now I'm just looking on my FDA labels, which has to be a little bit different. What I've chosen to do, which most companies don't do, is I've replaced the French on the label with Spanish. So my labels are English and Spanish going into the States. And a lot of people don't do that, but I just kind of thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do English. There's such a large Spanish population down there. And I think, why not? Let's see what happens with it. So we're doing English and Spanish on the label. That's been a little bit more challenging getting the FDA labels ready, which is fascinating because, this drives me nuts, but American companies can sell into Canada, right, on Amazon.ca. So they don't have to have NPNs either. They can just sell it into Canada on Amazon.ca. Now, for them to be on store shelves, they have to have an NPN. I cannot sell into the States off Amazon.com.
Right.
They can do it the other way around, which is really annoying. Right. I have to have the FDA labels. I have to have everything done. I have to have all the ingredients have to kind of be with what they agree with to sell into the States. But other way around, they can do whatever they want.
So you don't have to do any formulations changes then going from Canada to US or anything?
I did with Reset because I have NAC in Reset. So NAC, of course, the pharmaceuticals have basically taken it back because they realize they can make more money at it. That's really what it comes down to, right? It's a really powerful antioxidant, and studies with COVID that people have found that obviously that it benefits with the lungs and it helps you. So anyway, so they've basically pulled it. Now they sell it only through pharmaceuticals. So I had to change in Reset. I took the NAC out. We put a chase tree in there. So,
I'm trying to remember. Is it US is a bit more strict?
No, they're not actually.
Is Canada stricter for approval?
That's why I find the whole when everybody's like, oh, it's not, things aren't FDA approved. And I'm like, that's such a joke. Like, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but I kind of think it's a joke because in the States, I can say whatever I want. I can be like, this product is, you lose 50 pounds and I can put it on my label and I can say whatever I want. I cannot say that here in Canada. Like the only things I can say on this product, I can verbalize it maybe, or I can talk about it and say, erroneous thing about a product, but you cannot on your bottles, you have to say only what's on your NPN and everything has to be like to the T, and they'll fine you otherwise. So Canada is way more strict when it comes to that. Way more strict. Yeah, way more strict. And it's way harder. That's why a lot of American companies kind of bother, right? Yeah. Or if you see some American brands up here, they don't have NPNs on them, which annoyed me. There was I saw in my sports stores, there was a company that came up and they had their products on the shelf and they had no NPNs. And it just infuriates me because I know how much work and how much money I have to pay to get my product on a shelf in Canada with NPNs and all the other stuff I have to do. And then to have an American, there's a distributor here who deals with American brands, we'll just bring them up and put them on shelves. And they haven't kind of been caught or had their wrists slapped. And it's just like, it's infuriating. Yeah. I'm like, if I have to go through all this, then you have to go through all this too. It's not, it's not fair. So.
All right. Nick Hill's got a question here. I'm going to get this one. Just want to know the proper circumstances and terms and conditions, like things to use supplements, because I see my friends taking just whey protein and they don't work out, whereas I work out. Nick Hill, that's a hard question for either of us to really answer for you, because I don't know anything about your personal health or your level of conditioning or your age or anything like that. So, like as a generalization with whey protein, most places will recommend, if you're trying to grow lean muscle, maybe 1 gram to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of your body weight. And that's just a very generalized way to put it. And most people don't get that just with food in the run of a day. Yeah. My rule of thumb is that at least half of your recommended protein intake should be natural foods. and then you use something like a whey protein to supplement what your diet is in regards to protein. Aside from that, I mean, there's so many products out there. I wouldn't be able to list them all. And yeah, being that you're 16 years old, it's even less, like, it's just not something I can really get into details. I don't think you should be doing anything other than whey protein right now, because you're still growing. Aeryon, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, whey protein is the most bioavailable source of protein for humans. We absorb it the best. It's one of the best. I mean, I'm a big whey protein fan. My daughter uses whey protein as well, and she's 12. So, I think I think using it effectively and using it when you need it, and also making sure you're getting a high quality one is really important. But if you're working out, then you definitely should. And having a smoothie every now and then, you don't want to just have whey protein. You want to make sure, obviously, you're letting your body do its job by digesting chicken and meat or whatever protein choice is. So
I'm very big on just generalizations when it comes to that stuff. Like a gram to a gram and a half is, I usually try and do 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. So that's 300 grams a day for me. Very little chance that I can get that in with natural food. So I try and get at least 150 to 200 grams with food. And then I'll try and supplement with, whether it be 3 shakes a day or something like that. But Nick Hill, I would recommend, like, if there's any kind of like a pro shop or supplement store that's in your area, go in, kind of explain what you're looking to do, and ask them and ask them to recommend like a good quality protein for you, if that's what you're doing. Like I have, at your age, beyond protein, I wouldn't recommend anything, to be honest.
You do greens. Greens is a good thing.
You can do greens. You can do glutamine for muscle recovery.
I would also actually add on to the protein thing is, I think when you go into a lot of the stores, and I love my retailers, but we have, we've really created this hype with isolated proteins, and that, the mass is absorbed, and they're really expensive. And in all honesty, having a concentrate isolate blend, unless you're lactose intolerant, obviously that'd be a different story. You'd want to do a full isolate. But if you're not lactose intolerant, you want a concentrate isolate blend. You want, because they break the molecule down essentially, right? And so having more of a concentrate, you're getting that whole molecule, and your body's able to do its job as well. You don't need, I personally don't believe you need protein to be, absorbed in a nanosecond. It's like, it's okay if it takes, 3 minutes to have a protein absorbed into your system, or 10 minutes. So you can often get sold on having the isolate, like, oh, this is the best. You need to have the 99.9 isolate protein, and it costs way more money than just a standard isolate concentrate blend. So that's another thing too, is I always tell people to go for an isolate concentrate blend. It gets thicker and fluffier if you make a protein smoothie anyways, unless you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah, Nicole, if it's something that's not in your budget right now to get supplements, don't worry about it. Just eat lots of good food, avoid junk food. Very, very common sense stuff. As I said, you'll still see lots of results, especially at your age. So just avoid that. If down the road you decide that you hit a plateau and you've got a little extra money, you want to invest in a few of these things to help you gain lean muscle, up your protein intake, recover your muscles, things like that, then there's a time and place for that. But don't waste your money if funds are low. So
I agree with that too.
We'll leave it at that. So something else I wanted to ask you, because we have a lot of people that watch this. Like we're a little lower today on viewers, probably because I'm 2 hours late going on the air. So they'll probably end up watching it later. And a lot of the guys that I work with through this channel and this community, they're building YouTube channels. A big part of that is brand sponsorships. And we've talked about that a lot. And I think a lot of them feel, when it comes to sports nutrition, supplements, that wellness products, that they're not in the demographic, or they're looking for 22-year-old models and things like that. Like when you're looking for brand ambassadors, for example, what do you look for in general? And if it's 22-year-old models, you can tell me.
Yeah, no, I'm actually very different for that. If you look at it in my website, or if you look at any of the marketing that we put out, because I'm a size 9'10" usually. When I was growing up, the idea of what fitness was. And even to this day, right? If you look at the fitness magazines, it's all like super shredded people. And to me, that's not what fitness is. It's not a size. It's not a number. It's living your best life and feeling your best. And what I can say is when I competed, I felt my worst, but I looked my best, but I felt like shit. And I couldn't sleep. And I was tired all the time. And it was just awful. My hormones were a mess. So what I really look at is women who are, because I'm more of a female focused brand, but women who are living their best life, and it's all shapes, it's all sizes. My advertising has women who are bigger girls and who are leaner girls. And I think that's the thing, is being your best self. And I think, I hope that more brands are going to start gearing towards that way, especially more wellness and fitness brands too. Because I think it's kind of like, if you don't belong in our little club and you don't have a 6-pack, then you're not fit. And that's bullshit. Because you're not fit if you have a 6-pack. You're actually usually, for the most part, with women, you're hormonally usually very unhealthy if you have a 6-pack all the time. Your body can't sustain that. It's not good for you. You need to have, unless genetically this is who you are, but for the most part, the amount of work and how much work it takes and restriction it takes to abide in that space at all times. It's very challenging. So for my brand sponsors, the girls we have, I have, bigger girls, I have smaller girls. It's living your best life. And I think also putting out the content, having the engagement with people. You don't necessarily have to have a huge following. I like micro influencers even better, like who have smaller followings, but who have the engagement and people watch them on a regular basis. You can see in the comment section, all the people that are engaging with them. So more of that than anything.
So if you had the choice between one celebrity influencer and 500 micro influencers, who would you pick?
I think it depends on who the celebrity one is, but I probably would take the 500 micro influencers. Really. Kim Kardashian, that's a different story. Because let's be honest, but I probably would take the micro influencers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm huge on. I see it all the time. I'm huge on micro influencers because they have engaged audiences.
Yeah, if what they're saying.
Yeah, if 500 micro influencers have 10 people that really are engaged with them, that's 500 times 10. Whatever that is, like it's a lot of people, and a lot of sales, and I do because I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of celebrities when it comes to being ambassadors for products, and just getting them to post something. It's like it just comes off very contrived and mechanical, and I wonder, do these things really move the needle on products? It looks cool.
The thing too is looking at the ROI of things. I've gotten, that's another thing as well. I think when you start a brand or when you start something, you have everybody's like, oh my gosh, you got to do this, you got to do this flyer, you got to do this advertising, you got to do, coming at you. I had a television thing that came, it's $5,000, but you'll be able to do all this great stuff. And it's like, what's my ROI, my return on investment? What is that? What am I making if I'm doing this? Right. And so with these micro influencers, if I send them product, each of them will probably post, and they're probably going to really like the product. And if they don't, then I've had some, I've said to them, it's okay if you don't post, if you don't like it, if it doesn't work for you. I'd rather have you be honest with your followers. But looking at where you're spending your money is really important too, and especially with micro influencers or the big ones, right?
Yeah. So you're with three years in now with Aeryon Wellness?
I'll be 3 years. We'll be 3 years old in February this year. So the big thing this year that's happened is, and I kind of mentioned that, I filmed Dragon's Den. I auditioned 3 years in a row, and I finally got on Dragon's Den this past year, and I filmed in May. And so now it's been 8 months of anxiety, and now I have to wait and find out if I air in November. So fingers crossed. They filmed 80 this year and 60 get to air. So
nice.
I'm hoping that I air, and that will make a really big jump on the dial, I think, in the regards to brand knowledge, like people knowing who the brand is.
Yeah. So were you able to keep your costs at a minimum in order to turn a profit pretty much out of the gate, or did it take time before you started seeing kind of the hard work pay off?
Yeah, this year we are profitable, so that's the other thing too. So we do make profit, which is nice. And I think, at the beginning, yes. And that's why I've been really lucky in the fact that not lucky, but I've obviously nurtured and worked really hard to get to this point too, but so lucky is, but in the sense that I've been able to broker for one brand and then sell mine at the same time. So that's been able to really kind of keep me going. And I've had a lot of people tell me, I've had a lot of, business people say, when are you going to go all in? You should be all in on your brand. But then I kind of look at it and I'm like, but if I'm able to make an income, I mean, I'd want to keep my income as long as I possibly can and grow the brand, because I'm not pulling out of my brand, right? So, yeah, so it's third year, and as long as I'll keep brokering other companies as long as I can, because I have the relationship, so I can help them with sales, and then grow mine in the process, right? So that I'm not, so the money goes right back into the company instead of coming out to me.
So if anybody wanted to even attempt to do something similar to what you're doing, whether it's supplements or another kind of fitness product, do you have any like out of the gate recommendations or things to avoid or anything like that you would pass along?
I would do small runs of anything you're going to do. So if you're going to do fitness equipment, I would also look at, one of the big things is a lot of people tend to try to get their stuff manufactured here. And I would look at Alibaba. I've done a lot of stuff with Alibaba, which is overseas. So your cost goes down dramatically. I would definitely look at that. I mean, I manufacture here in Canada, obviously supplement wise, but when you do, like workout bands, I had workout bands that I gave with each product. So the cost, I mean, if I got them made here, it would be insane. Or even some of my packaging. I have these really nice shippers that I've brought in, and to get them made here. And I mean, I'd love to support Canada, but they're $250 for those display shippers. I can get them made over there for $30. So really looking at where can you save money, right? That's a big thing too. And I think keeping your day job. I've known other people who have just quit their day job and gone all in. I think there's some really great aspects of that, but keep your day job, work at your day job, and then create this on the side, and then keep going until it gets to a point. Like I'm going to be eventually at a point where it's going to balance out, where this will be able to support me, and I can just fully engage with Aeryon Wellness, right, 100%, and do it day in, day out. But until that point, I have to have a living. I have to support my daughter. So that's the other thing too. Right.
And that's even for what I'm doing here. That's why I continue to have a physical agency, is that this continues to be fun. The second I don't have an actual day job, this becomes a lot more pressure, and you may bail before the actual rise. So,
and I think asking people, going and asking stores what they need, like I have a very unique relationship with my retailers, and that I'm in there all the time. So I'm able to say, what's hot right now? What's going on? What do you think I should do next? What do you, and they'll be like, oh my God, you should do this product next. This is a big one. We just saw, another vendor came out with this. We think there's a lot of people coming in asking for it. So going in and actually, if whatever product is you're trying to create, if you're trying to do a fitness product or an outfit or whatever it is, clothes, going in and asking the people working the floor, what's the most thing, what's the, the number one thing you find you guys sell here? Do you mind if I ask you that? Tights or whatever, right? So then you really you're able to ask those questions and go to different stores and do some legwork, because sometimes I think we can have great ideas, but they're not great ideas if they're not going to sell, right? So that's kind of what we talked about, not only the pricing of it, but then also they're not going to sell because nobody really wants it. You're the only one. So you'll end up with, 1,000 shirts.
I think that's one of the reasons too, that it's good to stay in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Like for you, like through your own personal experiences with health and wellness and your actual job in health and wellness, you understand the space that you were getting into. I think you understand the climate of the space. And that's something that I see people, whether it's with YouTube channels or with products and services, is they want to do what's popular as opposed to what they're good at. If you're not a yoga instructor, maybe you shouldn't do yoga videos on your channel. That sort of thing. And it happens. People want to do what they feel is the most popular, whereas you're almost better off sticking to something that you've got a passion and knowledge of, because you're going to probably move farther ahead with that. And like, even when you mentioned the Alibaba for bands and stuff, like I get at least once a week, I'll get a request to review a product. And I know some of the people that watch this show get them as well. But like, you'll have somebody who wants to send you a fitness band. And then like, I know myself through I've owned fitness equipment stores, and I still have my dealer's license with one of the companies, and I know what these bands are sold to me for. It's like $1. So and they're still making money off that. So let's give them $1 to say that, just for argument's sake. And for a $1 band that they're sending to you, they're asking you for a 15-minute workout video. Make sure you say it's the best. Make sure you say XYZ. It should be done in 10 days. Like this whole laundry list of things they're asking for. And it's like, why do that for $1? Like, to me, I would rather have, a box or a lot of bands of my own, even with my own brand on it, use it in your videos and push sales and product sales and keep it at a nice, good price where you can make a couple dollars off it. And, but that to me is for the people that really want to treat YouTube as an extension of a bigger brand and a bigger idea. But
I think staying their wheelhouse is a big thing. I mean, I've known people who have, sold their or quit their jobs and taken all their, it was actually friends of ours, quit their jobs and put all of his money into a skateboarding shop. And I was like, and he's not even a skateboarder. I'm like, what? And they lost, and he lost everything. Right. And it's just like, because he was hanging out with his buddies and they thought it'd be cool to do. And I'm like, no, like you don't do that. Like, I mean, I get wanting to go for something, but you always keep your day job and work on your side hustle. I think that's a big thing too, is there's a time to go all in and you have to know when that time is. I'm 3 years in and my brand is making money. I will still continue to always try to make money like somewhere else and keep money within Aeryon Wellness so it can keep creating more products and new products as long as I possibly can. Yeah. So I think nothing's wrong with that. And I think there's this idea that you have to go all in to be a real entrepreneur and you have to like quit your day job and you have to, I think that's kind of bullshit. I think it's good if you keep your day job, that's a good thing. Yeah. And if you can work on your side hustle and get it going, and if you can find a side hustle that lines up with what you're doing in your day job, even better. And that's staying in your wheelhouse. So then they'll complement the two and you can just kind of do this, right? Yeah.
There's a natural instinct that will tell you when it's time to make that plunge into something else. Like I think there's a time when and you'll get that gut feeling. And like I've thought different times about becoming more digital with what I do for a living. Yeah. But the fact is that I don't trust the landscape enough yet to abandon other things I'm doing. I'd love to just do one of the two and not do as many physical, because I'll do a lot of jobs, commercials and promotional videos and things that I'm not passionate about. And I find it hard to get through them because they bore me, but they pay well. And it allows me to do this without the pressure of this needing to make a fortune.
It also connects you with people. Like it puts you in conversations with people you might not have conversations with, have you not? And then that expands and expands and grows your other business as well. Right.
Yep, so exactly.
I think that's the thing. I think there is this real kind of thing with being an entrepreneur that I've had many of them, like, when are you going to go all in? When are you going to quit the other brokerage thing? Yeah. And I come to a point where I'm like, why would I?
Exactly.
And even if this brokerage, the company I work for, that I broker for, even if they decided they didn't need me anymore, I probably would pick up a couple little tiny brands because I'm already in stores. So if I'm in stores, I will sell somebody else's brand as well and make money on it. Yeah. Right? So as long as it's not conflicting with mine. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Now I know how to start a supplement company. I thought about it. I thought about it when I left my last job, but then over time I started thinking, I love the creative and the marketing side of sports nutrition. I don't want to own a supplement company. I started thinking of all the other stuff that you got to do, and it's like
it actually is. There's so many things that you don't, like, from GS1, right? All the UPC codes. That's the other thing too to think about. Even having that, like, people, I'm like, oh, what? I have to have UPC codes. They have to be registered. And then if you sell to the big stores, they have to have the photos put it. Like, there's so many aspects to starting a supplement company. And it's funny, sometimes you feel like you're not going far enough, but then when you have a conversation like this, or I talk to somebody about the brand, I'm like, oh wow, I've done a lot. I've come a long ways, because usually you're just doing this and going forward. So
exactly.
Yeah. But it is. It's I think if I truly believe you're never given an idea that you cannot do. Like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. I think if you have an idea, there's a reason for it. And if you follow through, and if you listen to that, and if you work hard, then the doors will continuously open for you. And I just wholeheartedly believe that. Right. Yeah. And and it's worked in my favor that way. So, and also being in Canada, and, there's a lot of other different circumstances that make it a lot easier for me to say that, but yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Oh, quiet phone. Phone ringing. And Nick Hill, I'm getting your messages here. We're talking about starting a supplement company. So as far as that stuff goes, it's not really the live stream for today. So sorry.
All right.
All right, Aeryon. That's awesome. thank you so much. So if anybody wants to check out your products, I know you're not in the US just yet. We've got people that are global here, but if they want to check out the actual brand, what's the website?
AeryonWellness.com. So it's AERYON wellness.com. And we're also on Amazon as well. So if you Google us, Amazon.ca, we're on there too. And
on social media, any handles you want to drop?
Aeryon Wellness, and then also my own Aeryon Bela Ashlie. So, and it's all spelled AERYON Bela Ashlie.
I will. I think I've already added it, guys, in the description on this video. So if you guys want to follow Aeryon and check her out, it's in there. If not, I will add it to the description if it's not already in there. But Aeryon, I can't thank you enough. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's a lot of details in there that I didn't even realize, and I think it's very cool that somebody can do this, can compete in that space, and do it with, you know, a small amount of employees, small budget, and still grow and thrive. So I think any of you guys who have any questions for Aeryon, fire them in here. I'll make sure she gets them. Nick Hill, okay. Small idea, but 1 minute, because then I will go to hostel where I will not be able to access internet. Okay, what's the question here? Okay to start with calisthenics and mix weight training with calisthenics, like adding some isolation? Yeah, absolutely, man. Don't overthink it. I think you're overthinking all of this. When it comes to exercising and being healthy in that, just move.
Yeah, move your body.
Yeah, and when it comes to doing sets and reps, like as far as the amount of reps to do, I always say like 10, 12 reps, but when you hit that 12th rep, you should be very happy that you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just keep it simple for now. Don't overthink it. But there's a lot of stuff out there. There's like a ton of content online that you can reach out to. But yeah, keep it simple. Give your body time to recover. Don't worry about supplements if it's not in your budget. That's, you know, just avoid that for now. You know, you're still young. You've got lots of natural testosterone to grow and get yourself in really good shape. So hopefully that'll help you a bit. Aeryon, it's awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And yeah, I will make sure that if any follow-up questions come in, guys, you can, like I said, Aeryon's stuff will be in the description there, but you can also reach out to me and I'll make sure she gets it as well. And we will call that a day because we're at our 90-minute mark, which is usually where we cut it off.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, guys.
We'll talk soon.
Nick Hill, see you later. Bobby G, thank you for reaching out. And guys, we will talk to you soon. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
You still there? Oh, no.